Hello, welcome to Campaign Diary 29 for the Abomination Vaults. I'm doing another one without a script just to see how it goes. Let me know if you do have a preference. When we left off, our heroes had just defeated the Gibbering Mouther, and that had been all kinds of an ordeal for our heroes, with them fighting each other and nearly killing each other. But as peace returned to the pool, they began to look around. The main thing of interest was that the pool had a bunch of coins in it. These coins seemed to give the party some clues as to what this location might be.
Are we in the bottom of a well?
We could be.
I mean, it's a circle, right? And then coins? Don't tell me you've never thrown coins in a well.
Well, yeah. But I don't know who would throw coins here in this well. I mean, guess it depends on how old the coins are.
If we got one, do you reckon you'd be able to figure it out? I'm not really a coins expert myself.
The coins are, of course, from before Belcora died, when this was a functioning place with functioning servants, and the people in the servants' quarters were throwing coins down like a wishing well, as you do. Even though it wasn't a huge sum of money, Milo did spend the time to collect them all, so they got a bunch of silvers and coppers. The group had actually forgotten about the well upstairs, so they had this large debate about whether there was a secret portion of the above area that they had not discovered yet. And in order to stop backtracking, I ended up having to remind them that they did find a well, and they actually did hear noises from the bottom of that well. There sounded like a village of people arguing. That was, of course, the Gibbering Mouther. From here, though, they had a couple of routes out of the room. They had the descending river, which they nearly followed, and they also had the cave running to the west. After a short discussion about which way to go, they decided not to head down yet, as they don't want to descend into the next level. So they followed the tunnel along that western passageway. As they were passing by, they did see the secret door. I described that it was less hidden from this side, and it was quite clearly a door. They decided not to interact with that yet, though, and to head down the tunnel. My group did play the beginner's box, so with this taking them all the way to the Atari fishery, that's something that they have encountered, and they recognized where they were.
Well, I guess we know where they came from.
Maybe. They might have come from here. I haven't seen any signs of kobolds here, though. It is quite interesting, though. It feels, even though we haven't seen any signs of it, holistically, I want to say that there is some kind of connection. That's the only way it makes any sense.
What do we do? Do we tell the town to seal it up so nothing can get through, or do we keep this here knowing that it's a good escape route?
I mean, it is a good escape route. If we ever got in trouble here, just running down this thing, that's gonna be good. We might want to set up some kind of explosive, magical detonator so we can seal it behind us if something is chasing us.
And collapse the entire town on top of us. It's a good plan.
No, we do it way before we reach the town, like maybe somewhere in the middle of the forest.
I can't lie, I'm not super thrilled about leaving this open either.
I mean, it's been
Whatever
open
comes
all
out.
this time, like why would it be a problem now?
I suppose.
If anything, we've killed like the only things here that could threaten anyone. Like maybe that gibbering mouther could have squeezed through here over time. That would have been a mess if that showed up in town. Imagine the riot.
Can I look at how they've it's been sealed up? Is it like we could break it down in emergency?
They decided that the resealed wall was enough of a defense to not have to worry about this too much, and that it would maybe make a good escape route if they ever needed one. For now, though, they headed back to the secret door to find out what lay beyond. This, of course, led them into the visitor's reading room. This large cross-shaped chamber contains several long couches, the leather cushions that once adorned them cracked with age. Dead plants lie slumped in planter boxes along the walls, and a long dry fountain depicting a lighthouse stands in the middle of the room. Inside, they met Orgrael.
What you doing here? Reading?
Yes, just enjoying a nice book. He sort of peers past you the door. I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a door there.
Neither did I. Until about half an hour ago, maybe. You here alone?
Yes.
How come?
It's a rather long story involving some ghouls and my fellow, well, past fellow warlocks.
Right. Any association with the king?
You could say I was a rival of his. Not so much anymore.
I see. Well, it's interesting to find one of you down here. Yeah, haven't stumbled across any Morlocks for a while.
Are my people no longer above?
Doesn't seem like it, no.
I see. I suppose they must have moved on. Gorgust probably led them to disaster.
Yes, probably.
What a shame.
Right, yeah. But to
Um,
be honest, disaster seems to be what happens around here in general.
True, the place is quite uncomfortable. But this room is nice enough.
how long have you been here for?
I don't know. Since my affliction, I've lost a lot of my memories.
Yeah, sorry to be so forward, but the ghouls, did they do this to you?
Yes. During one of our attacks, trying to push for territory, I got bitten. The Morlocks wouldn't have me anymore, and neither would the ghouls, so here I am.
It seems like quite a lonely existence for you. I'm sorry.
Luckily, I have this book, and
What's it about?
I don't know. As soon as I finish reading it, I forget that's what it was about, so I can read it again, I suppose. Orgriel is a Morlock that was infected by ghoul fever during one of the attacks where they were trying to gain new territory. He was once a rival to Graulgust, but he was exiled from the Morlocks, and the ghouls didn't really want anything to do with him, so he ended up being isolated in this room, trying to just pass the time. The group did actually seem quite empathetic towards him, with the exception of Milo, who has become a little genocidal about ghouls recently. This is pretty reasonable since they were the ones responsible for killing his dad, and in-game that was only like a handful of days ago. It's still very fresh.
Would you say you're happy here?
I'm not unhappy. I'd rather be with my people, of course, but whenever Graulgust is in charge, I'm not allowed to return. And since I'm not quite alive anymore, I don't think they'd have me anyway.
Let's put him down. Why not? He's an undead.
But he seems friendly. Why would you hurt him?
I don't know. I guess he just want to hurt everything down here.
Hmm.
There's a lot of anger in you.
Well, understandably so, to be fair.
And he's a ghoul.
Do you remember your name?
Orgriel.
Can we do anything for you?
Well, if you happen to kill any ghouls, I'm rather hungry. So,
No.
pass one my way.
Oh, sure. I don't have any on me.
Do you only eat ghoul meat?
For some reason, since I've become like this, the only thing that seems to satisfy is undead flesh.
I'd wager it's the negative energy.
I think I'm quite positive, to be fair, but
Well, I mean, cosmic energy, magical energy. The energy of the undeath. And such.
well, maybe. They did ask him a few questions about the Gauntlight, which he couldn't really answer. Things about how it fires, how often it can fire, if he's seen a weird blue glow. With him being isolated to this one room, he hadn't seen any of that stuff. He wasn't even aware that was going on. The adventure does describe him as being a little forgetful. He doesn't quite have a full comprehension of where he is. I turned this up a little bit so that he was also forgetting the books that he was reading, so that he could reread them and basically explain why he's confined himself to this room. They eventually decided to move on, leaving him alive, even though Milo did offer to kill him, which I guess that's mercy in his own way. Obviously, he said no to that, and the group moved on as he became increasingly nervous. The next port of call was the not-so-private reading room. An ancient sofa with its covering torn open and its stuffing and springs revealed sits against the west wall of this room. Entering this room triggered the Watching Wall Haunt. Ornifex was the one who triggered the haunt, and she became frightened. Haunts in general really confuse my group. They really don't know how to interact with them. I think this is because Pathfinder usually has a specific rule for everything, so when the encounter tells you to just try stuff and see what sticks, it puts them into a little bit of choice paralysis. This is the second time this has happened, where they've just frozen up, they're not sure what they're supposed to do, and it's dragged a little bit as they basically just start spamming recall knowledge, trying to see if that will tell them the answer. After some prompting, Gorgon did manage to eventually end the haunt by using religion checks to exorcise the haunt, and then with peace returned to the room, they found the spying hall. This plain angled hall has 4 alcoves. Each western alcove has a silver circle of runes inlaid in the floor. A peephole in the eastern wall allows observation of the room beyond. Aside from the dormant teleportation circles, there isn't a whole lot to learn in here, so they moved on. The only place left now was the far right side of the dungeon, where Sesto had turned into a rat in order to go and find Corlog's contract many sessions ago. So, they made their way to the scriptorium.
This is the floor that Aravian said there was that woman that we have to just do what she says. And we haven't seen her. This is the last place, right? This must be her. Yeah, what was it that Aravian said about her?
I think something about when she asks you to do something for her, just do what she says, otherwise she's mad.
Oh, yes, that was it.
That sounds fine. Unless it's something crazy. But I say we deal with that when we get to it. For now, we can just waltz in and take it as it comes.
Alright, I can't say I'm thrilled about this, but I trust you guys.
This is how we do most of our business.
Yeah, and you have survived so far.
This room is lined with tables, divided up into several narrow corrals with old wooden chairs pushed in against them. Upon them, old stacks of paper and tattered books sit amid dry inkwells and brittle writing quills. To the south, a skeleton dressed in a shiny-looking chain shirt lies slumped on the floor, clutching something in its bony hands. Within the room, the party encountered the ghost Chandriliu Invizar. They had actually received warning about her from Aravian when he was telling them how to get to Corlog's contract. The advice he had given was, just do as you're told. So as they went into the room, she began yelling at them that they are late, that they need to get to work, and the group just fell into that role play. Each of them was ushered to a different workstation with a book, and they began working on those books or pretending to work on those books. Main Ornifex just made performance checks to pretend, while Gorgon and Milo actually used repair kits or inkwells to copy or fix the books that were in front of them. Late! What time do you call this? Honey, get to work. We have books to repair. Well, come on, in. Take a seat, get to work.
All right.
My lady, where would you like me to start? I'm getting really into role.
Just take your seat and begin working. We don't have time for this.
I'm going to choose a seat that has a book in front of it.
Yeah, same.
Me too.
Once Chandriliu was pleased with their work, she went back to doing her own thing in the room, kind of drifting by, checking on them every once in a while, sometimes disappearing into that back room. There are usually 3 notable books in this room, and I added a 4th. I explained that each person had a book in front of them that they had been tasked to work on. These books are usually just listed as loot, but I decided to specifically give them out as the things to work on. So Milo had What the Worm Knows, May had Grave Feasts, Ornifex had Secrets of the Skull, and Gorgon had a new one called The Family That Breached Heaven. As Gorgon was copying a book across using his inkwell, he began to obviously read the book that he was copying, and he noted that the author was someone called Mitsuyo Hayashi. Hayashi is May's surname, but Gorgon has not learnt that yet, so for now he just thought he was copying any old book, but this was actually supposed to be the start of May's backstory content.
Right. I want to lean over and whisper to Milo, These are the books that... Oh god, somebody asked to be transcribed, right? They left a note saying that it was going to take months, but they were going to bring the books back. I guess she died before she finished them. There was a note. They said that they were going to bring them back when they were ready.
I wonder if that was this lady.
I mean, it makes sense. She signed it with, like, my love or something like that.
My love. And was it addressed to... Who was it? Belcora's protege?
I think so. The apprentice, right? Van something.
She floats by. Side chatter to a minimum, please.
Sorry.
I want to lean this way. Hey, Ornifex. Psst.
What's up?
What book do you have? These 2 are the ones that we've heard about before. Is yours also one?
I will lift up the book so I can read the cover, but like trying to hide it behind my wings so the ghost doesn't see it.
Winging it.
Lit-
When I like see the title, I'm gonna go, shit, see, yeah. These are the books.
It's kind of odd that these books are ultimately unimportant after they were specifically teased on the first floor. I kind of get the feeling they originally were supposed to have a higher purpose or be some kind of magic item or have a plot point or a side quest associated with them that was later removed or not quite followed through with. But as they stand, they're supposed to just be sold to a little bit of a shady person to make it a bit of extra money. Eventually, Chandru went through into that secret space, giving the party a bit of time to talk openly. They used this time to speak and try and form some kind of plan.
As she disappears, I will just stand up very quietly.
Don't you dare go over to the shiny armor.
No. But I want to have a look at the book that Gorgon is writing. Since it's not on the list, you know.
The family that breached heaven seems to be a diary.
Ooh.
A diary of a person called Mitsuyo Hayashi.
As I read the last name, because I do know May's full name. I will like rip the book out of Gorgon's hands or whatever you have been doing with it. I will just take it and like point at it aggressively so we don't make too much noise and like really put it into May's face.
Wait, what?
like-
What?
And like I will point aggressively to the last name.
I'm gonna turn around and like take you with both hands.
I will steal your book you have been writing and put it in front of Gorgon and go back to my place.
Okay.
How does Gorgon feel about this?
Confused.
Now his
Yeah,
notes will be wrong. The ghost is going to appear back through the wall and return to dossing about.
God, what a great use of British slang.
Funny, right?
I don't even know what it means. Well, I can, through context, I can assume.
They began to flick through this diary, but after a few pages, the words began to fade. Not as in run out, but literally the opacity had been turned down. It became harder and harder to see. However, she did begin to hear a voice in her head. Oh, look who's back! You think a few hundred years of silent treatment is going to break me? You're a fucking joke, Bulgoro.
I was gonna like raise my eyebrows, kind of look around. Can anyone else like hear it? See if anyone else reacts.
No, there's no audio for anyone else.
I'm kind of like a crazy person talking to a book. Belcora? I'm not Belcora. Who are you?
You're not Belcora.
Yeah, obviously not.
Oh. I'm very sorry then. Who am I speaking to?
May. We appear to maybe have the same surname. Are you Mitsuyo Hayashi?
I am. Wait, a relative? Well, I never.
guess.
What are the chances? Well, I suppose rather high. I'm sure the Hayashi clan must be well known across the world by now. I suppose it was only a matter of time until I was returned to some family member.
Sorry to say, but we're not known at all. I'm sorry. I'm so confused. Are you a book?
Mitsuyo Hayashi is a long previous ancestor of Mei, and at some point in her life, she was trapped in this diary. How and why will become important later on, but for now, the main purpose of this was so that Mei can learn from an ancestor who actually has some kind of monk heritage, as well as being a family member to Mei, as that's something she currently lacks in the adventure. The way of explaining why Belcora had this book was, of course, that Belcora wanted to figure out how to create simulacrums, and having a soul trapped inside a book seems like a good starting point, although Mitsuyo never revealed any of her secrets to Belcora. How did you come to possess me?
This is so insane. You're in the Gauntlet, which I guess you know belonged to Belcora, right? Since you mentioned her, but we've been sent here to try and figure out what's going on because it's lit up again. Some crazy ghost lady was asking us to transcribe the book.
Wait, so you're saying it's chance that you're here? I haven't been specifically returned to you?
I mean, isn't fate always kind of laid out for us anyway? Nothing's really chance.
Well, maybe.
Can I hear
And-
this conversation like on one side?
Probably hear like little whispers to the book. Yeah.
I mean, if I start hearing May whispering, I'm gonna try and listen in.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck is May like sitting there muttering to herself for?
If you are a relative, as you claim to be, then I'm very thankful that I found my way to you. Eventually, the party messed up a little bit, and they asked about the corpse in the room, which historically has caused fights with the ghosts, and you should never remind them of the fact that they're dead. So this, of course, started a fight. Chandryu proved a pretty dangerous opponent, but that's mostly because I basically spammed Despairing Cry. Since you only become immune once you succeed, and my party repeatedly failed for quite a while, especially with critical failures on Gorgon's part, they lost a lot of actions at the start of this fight that went on a little bit long. With her being a party level +2 creature, the DC was actually quite hard to hit. That, stacked with the fact she has resistance 7 to all damage, with some exceptions, made it that the party was doing very little damage on the occasions where they could hit or they could use their actions to attack her. Eventually, most of the party did become immune to this scream, and it became less efficient for her to use it, so she started fighting properly with her hands, and then she started critting the party, which was dealing upwards of 40 damage, which is near over half their hit points. And again, the party fell back on recall knowledge checks, but because such a high level and a hard DC to hit, they ended up crit failing a lot and getting a lot of misinformation, which is becoming a reoccurring problem in these dangerous fights. I'm not entirely sure I like the critical fail state on recall knowledges as it is. It feels weird when Pathfinder is such an information reliant game. A lot of the time the party are relying on this information to know how to fight when they have so many options. They can do so many things. They need something to help them limit themselves or to guide them in the right direction. I'm not sure I'm ready to make any specific changes to it yet, but it's beginning to grate on me a little bit. Eventually, Ornifex went down, and as the healer, she is very important to our group, and they kind of went into action stations. Milo used one of their scrolls of Sanctuary on the downed Ornifex, and this did keep her from dying, although by the time they got her back up, she was at dying 3, which was a very dangerous place to be. Luckily, May does have a striking rune, and the party did manage to get a few lucky crits with natural 20s, and they could eventually kill her. However, she will be back in 4 days due to rejuvenate. Checking the body, they found the +1 armor and decided that they're going to move that rune into somebody else's, not sure whose yet, and they also found the small portrait of Voluk. This will become very important later on if they hope to stand a chance against him. They also, of course, took all of the books, May especially focusing on getting that diary out of there. And then they were done for the day, so they headed home. Ornifex is no longer diseased with ghoul fever, however Milo did progress to stage 2, and Ornifex had to use Cleanse Affliction to reduce him back down to stage 1. Hopefully he does get over that soon and doesn't end up actually becoming a ghoul, although I think that's very unlikely since Ornifex can essentially just keep casting that to stop him from progressing. This was a pretty fun session. They did a lot of exploring, they moved through most of the dungeon, and they have now seen all the rooms with exception of one, I think, which is very well hidden. So hopefully, floor 4 awaits, and we can get to what I would consider the final closing chapter of this first arc of the story. Voluk has been responsible for basically everything that's happened so far, more so than Belcora, so hopefully meeting him is memorable, and he is pretty strong, so hopefully they can tackle him safely and not lose anyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, subscribe, the usual things you can do to support this channel. You'll find my usual links in the description for, Blue Sky, Discord, all those kind of things. But for now, that is it, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye-bye.